Hello, everyone, and welcome to the very first live webinar of this new course that we're putting together. Please say hi in the chat. Thank you ever so much for tuning in. And look who we've got. We've got our very special guest, Micheline from Zurich.
Hi.
And we've got our very own Kat Westwood, all the way from not very far from here, Norwich. And Dinah just managed to cycle home from the clinic in time to log on. So yeah, I've got some slides. I've been doing some research into chronic disease, and I'll put them up, and then I'll ask the presenters back to just say a few words about their presentations that they're going to do for the course later on. So I'll put the slides up, and we'll get straight on. So here we go. There we go. So what I'll do is I'll just take everyone off the stage for now, and then we can just pop on later on. There we go. There we are. Yeah, okay, so we'll hear more from all the presenters in a moment, but here we are. It's the start of a new course, which we're really excited about, and it's been fascinating. I was just saying, it's been fascinating doing the research for this because it's really quite amazing, and I think Shiatsu's obviously got a really big part to play in what's happening in society and in the world. So let's see what we've got today in the program. We have got some research I've just been doing, and in fact, it's just made the headlines in the UK because a record number of people are off work now due to long-term sickness. I'm going to just give you some facts and figures about that. We'll do some polls about your own experience treating chronic disease. Then I go through the themes that we've chosen, and we had to really pick them because there's lots to choose from that we could have done. And then we're going to look at TCM and Shiatsu, the role that we can have as Shiatsu practitioners, and then a little bit about the webinar-based course that we're putting together and how it all works and everything. So that is it. That is the program that we've got ready for you this evening. Okay, so what is long-term sickness or chronic disease? Well, it's obviously something that's a long-term health condition. One of the definitions I got from the NHS is that it's if you're off work for more than 4 weeks. It's one that involves ongoing management. We're talking about that a lot in the role of Shiatsu, and all the other things we can do like Qigong and all those other things can help because it tends to be something obviously that lasts for a very long time, and it's basically something that has to be managed on all different levels. And this is something that you'll find in a lot of the literature about chronic disease, about how it differs from acute disease, the way it needs to be managed. So look, here's something I found from Holman 2000. The differences, the essential differences between acute and chronic conditions. And I think this is really important because what it does is it kind of reframes the whole relationship that we have with our client, with their problems and their issues, and also what our role is as a therapist within it. And as I say, I think Shiatsu therapists are uniquely placed to help people with chronic disease because of many different things in terms of how to manage it, as we'll explore in the next hour or so. Okay, so obviously chronic illness tends to be gradual, and often people don't even notice it's happening until it starts to affect their life, whereas acute disease tends to be a sudden thing that happens. We're looking at a long or sometimes an indefinite period. And the other thing about chronic disease, which an illness, which is really means that we have an enhanced role, is there are often multiple causes, and that sometimes just to have a different frame of reference with TCM and Shiatsu can be really beneficial in order to reframe it for the client. Look at this. This is really interesting as well. From a Western medicine point of view, diagnosis and prognosis is often uncertain. So not only do we have someone who's got illness with multiple causes that change over time, but you've also got a lot of uncertainty there, which is another factor in the whole picture. And look at this. This is Western medicine. Western medicine, they like acute diseases. It's got a single cause. They know how long it's going to last. They know what to do. But when it comes to chronic illness, the intervention can be indecisive. And I think we've all had this with clients with chronic illnesses. The intervention can be indecisive, and you can get adverse effects from the drugs, which again puts another stress on the system and things like that. So there's a very clear role there for holistic healthcare. Look at this one as well. Cure possible for acute disease. This is Western medicine. No cure. Okay, so then you have to think about yourself, what is our role in terms of working with the client? And I know Micheline's got very strong views on this. I can remember from presentations she's done before, Micheline's talked a lot about exactly what our role is and about treating the person rather than the disease. So we'll hear from her in a little while. Okay, and look, pervasive uncertainty, again, another opportunity for us to give support. And this is another really interesting thing, which we'll follow up in a minute, which is, again, I think a really important role here, is that professional knowledge, basically it's acute disease is characterized by professionals know what it is, they know it's got a single cause, they know what's going to happen, and the patient is inexperienced because they've never had it before, they suddenly become ill with whatever it is. Whereas if you've got chronic illness, the whole relationship changes because the patients often have more knowledge and more actual information, especially with the internet and with self-help groups. They have more knowledge than the professionals. So basically they work together. The idea is the professionals, which includes us, work together to manage the chronic disease. So that's a really interesting slide, I think, and a really interesting way of framing what we're doing. Okay, now look at this. This is incredible. In fact, Dinah and I were talking about this just before this webinar, just when she left, because it's hit the headlines in the UK because this is research that I was doing for this webinar. As I was doing the research for this webinar, there was front page news on all the news sites in the UK. Long-term sickness has now got up to 28% of all of those in the labour market who are out of the labour market are long-term sick. And that is really worrying for policymakers. They're really worried. If this trend continues, it's going to be a vast proportion of the workforce are not going to be able to work. And so it's a really hot topic in policymaking and medical circles. And have a look at some of this. Look at this amazing graph here. This is the ONS research, the actual research that's been quoted recently. 2.5 million people reported long-term sick between June and August 2022. It's only just come out, this research. It's gone up from 2 million in 2019. So you can see it was rising. It was rising already before the pandemic, and then it's just gone straight up there. And this is directly from the ONS. This is really interesting. This look, three things that are really worth looking at. We've got mental illness and nervous disorders, problems with the back or neck, and other problems that didn't come into the questionnaire that the ONS did, that are really worth drilling down and having a bit of a deeper look at. Look, this is right in our remit here. Muscular skeletal problems. Shiatsu is obviously excellent for that. 31% rise, which is pretty huge, and a lot of people are ascribing it to the pandemic, more home working caused by the pandemic, people's bad posture, working on a keyboard and things like that. So that's one of the guesses they don't know, but they think it might have been that. And they're very worried about this. This is the other section, which doesn't come into the specific questions. That was up 41%. And one of the comments in the ONS report was the pandemic's wider impact is still likely to be an important factor in increased long-term sickness, but they don't know exactly what it is. But obviously that could and almost certainly will include long COVID, which we've done an entire webinar series on recently with Malika. Okay, so this is really interesting. And also look at this. This is a breakdown of the age groups. And interestingly enough, age 25 to 34 saw the biggest increase in long-term sickness. Older people, 50 to 64, also had 16% increase. But the biggest increase in total was in that age group. And that's an age group where often there's financial stresses because of buying a house or having a young family and things like that. And that's one of the things we've definitely had in Norwich. We've got several clients who are basically have got long COVID, and we're having to support them through the Angels Fund because they literally have got no money, no work, they're self-employed. All the COVID support is gone now. And so we're having to either do reduced rates or support with the Angels Fund. So that's another big issue. Cost is one of the big issues of healthcare in that group. Okay, so then I did some research on the common chronic diseases in the UK, and here they are. Now, we're already planning next year's course, part 2, because we just couldn't cover them all in 5 weeks. We've got today's introduction, We've only got 4 other webinars, so we had to really pick subjects that our team would be happy to cover. And there's plenty of others, particularly like heart disease. Micheline's going to be covering treating clients with cancer. Dinah and I may be mentioning the treating stroke patients in our musculoskeletal system. But then we've got all the breathing issues, which are again prevalent, becoming more prevalent because of pollution. Dementia is another big one. And then we've got liver disease and diabetes, lifestyle related diseases, which again are increasing. So there's a lot of scope there for us to investigate how we can help these clients. Okay, so that's the kind of background there. Some of the research that I was very interested to do for this webinar and for this course. So here's a few polls. I just thought I'd find out from you whether you actually treat clients with chronic disease in your practice. So let's hopefully this poll will work. I'll just share that now. There we go. So just let us know if you do treat chronic disease in your practice or clients with chronic disease in your practice. And we'll just see what kind of proportion we've got there. Okay, so we've got about 69%. We've got about 2/3 of you who are already treating chronic disease, clients with chronic diseases. So let's go down a little bit more with some more polls and find out what you're doing. Let's just find out what proportion, assuming that you have got clients who've got chronic diseases, what proportion of your clients suffer from chronic diseases there? Okay, so I'm going to run that poll again. It's just to see how prevalent it is. I'm just trying to think actually in the Shiatsu system to hear where we would be with that. Wow, look at that. We've actually got some of you who are right up there in the 60 to 100%, 80 to 100%. But it looks like the majority, about half of you, see about up to 1 in 5 clients with chronic diseases. And then there's quite a lot still there in the middle there. Look, 20 to 40%, there's 19% of you are treating between 20 and 60% of your clients. So there's quite a lot of clients there being treated. So that's very interesting. Thank you for the feedback on that. So I guess the next question is, how confident do you feel treating a whole range of chronic diseases or clients with chronic diseases with Shiatsu? So let's just see how confident you are. And it runs from very confident to very unconfident. And we'll just see where you're at with that. Okay, excellent. Well, there we go. Just what we'd expect from the New Energy Work webinar attendees. We've got over half of you feeling confident or very confident. So just hope we can add some more scope to your practice. And for those of you, there's about half again, or slightly less than half, saying you're neutral or confident or very unconfident. Let's see if we can help you in the next few weeks with these webinars and hopefully help you treat a wider range of clients. Okay, now this is an interesting question. Do you personally have a chronic disease? Because they are so prevalent, it's possible that you might have actual personal experience of a chronic disease yourself. Let's just see if there are any, whether there is anyone in the group. Okay, there we go. So it looks like, look at this. This is so interesting. It's like 1/3 of the group, roughly 1/3, or slightly over 1/3, are reporting that they personally have a chronic disease. So that could be very useful input into the course and this webinar and then the online course. If you've got your own personal experience, that obviously really is invaluable in being able to understand the issues that are involved with clients and things like that. Okay, so thank you. That's our run of polls to find out where you're at with that. Okay, so here we are. Here's what we've chosen, partly based on the experience of the team that we've put together. We've got this introduction, which, as you can see, is just putting the background together and just introducing all of the different themes and the presenters. And then we're going to look a little bit at constitution TCM and various different strategies we can use from Shiatsu and TCM. But next week, we've got Micheline, treating clients with cancer. Then after that, we've got our very own Kat Westwood treating MS, clients with MS. And then Shakura is going to be doing some breath work and chronic disease work with us. She's just recently come away with a qualification in that, and she's very excited about that. So that will be interesting to be able to share some of that. And then Dinah and I are going to finish up by doing a session on muscular skeletal, because it ranks so highly in the increase there with a 34% increase. And we'll be looking at treating arthritis and joint problems. Okay, so let's introduce the group. We've got Micheline, so let's just see if we can get her onto the stage and she can just say a few words about her presentation. Let's just see if she can come on here. Okay, so Micheline works in Zurich. She's a specialist in treating chronic disease. In fact, she had to basically choose one of them because she treats many things like MS, long COVID, and things like that. So I was just hoping she would come on and maybe have and tell us a little bit about her work. She also does quite a lot of trauma work as well, time therapy, mediality, which I'm very interested in. And she does lots of other more rarefied work, aura healing, out-of-body work as well. So maybe she'll come on in a minute and talk to us. Let's see. Otherwise, we'll just go on. We'll just go on and see who else we've got. Let's see. Okay, if you can come on, Micheline, just talk to us at any point. Otherwise, we'll just keep going. Okay, Kat. Let's see if we can get Kat to... Oh, here she is. There she is.
Okay, sorry. It was my fault.
All right, I'll just go back.
Hello, everybody. Sorry.
There you go. Okay, Micheline.
So used to that.
How do you think you managed to get into treating clients with cancer? How did it happen? And other chronic diseases? How did it happen?
It just started, people just came to me and asked me if I could help them or support them. So I started, and everything I can show you next week is out of my experiences. Right. And also with doctors, but especially from the Shiatsu work.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Yes. Great. So, what do you think?
And sorry, guys, my English is not so good.
I think it's fine.
That you know.
I think it'll be perfect. It'll be perfect. I can definitely. Yeah. So, have you got any? What do you think is the most important thing that you've learned from doing all of this work with people with chronic illnesses?
So, there is no right and no wrong. So the most important thing is first to go with the client's energy field, and just feel what he needs.
Yes.
So, and then just have enough, techniques you can offer, and it's never the same treatment.
No,
it's never the same. You can't say you have cancer, so we do this or this. It's very individual.
Right.
So it's actually the way I work, and you too.
Yeah.
We are, So what I will do, next week, I will invite you to join me in exploring techniques. For a variety of scenarios, for example, treating fragile patients, employing the field.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. That means also without touching the body.
Right. Okay.
Okay.
Yes.
But we don't go too far in that way. But that, for example, I had some situation in the hospital, where people were ready to die, to leave us. So then you're not going to work that way. So anyways, I will show that.
Yeah.
Then I have some ideas about the extraordinary vessels.
Oh, great. Yes.
The ones can really support very well.
Yes.
In any case, and also Masanaga meridians. And then there are several points and zones you can include in the treatment.
Great.
So we will have a little bit, just some opportunities, and we will also discuss what is my decision, or my what can I offer to the client.
Right. Yes, of course. Yeah, that's really important, isn't it? To be
yes,
really clear about that. Yeah.
And I will also, I asked Marianne again, you remember last time? Yeah. Marianne, yes. She was also a practitioner, but she doesn't work with Shiatsu anymore. And and she will come, and so I can also show something on her.
Great.
You
Oh, great.
typical stuff, and it will work.
Yeah. We'll have the text.
Okay.
We'll rehearse it. Get all the
Okay.
cameras working. Yeah.
And then the most important also will be next week that, I mean, all of you being online now, you also have some experiences. So maybe we can share at the end some experience in between us. And yeah, right.
I'm
so
sure.
that
Yeah, we
would
had a
be-
high proportion of people who were already confident in treating. So I'm sure they've got lots to share and everything. And half of the people.
And
Yeah, go on.
all the most important,
Yeah.
because I'm a nerd in that, you will also get a handout.
Oh, yes. Great. Yeah.
With some ideas, because in all my seminars I teach, I always have a very big handout.
Big handout. Okay, so we'll look forward to that.
Yes,
Excellent.
So it's just that you know.
Great.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm really looking forward. It's so lovely to see you. Apart from anything else, I'm really looking forward to seeing you actually in person soon in
Yes,
Switzerland.
yes,
Yeah.
and at least the computer works.
Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Okay, thank you so much. Yeah, we'll see you next
Okay,
week.
thank you, please. Thank you all.
Yeah, brilliant.
Hope to see you next week.
Brilliant. Okay, so there's Micheline, and now that here's Kat, if we can get Kat on the stage, let's just see if we can get her to come on. She's so busy answering the chat at the moment, I think. Okay. Hey, so this is our very own Kat Westwood. You may very well know her. Apart from anything, she became world famous with her Kat's Kitchen during the lockdown.
Oh gosh, yeah. I had so much fun with it, but my friend watched it the other day, and I try not to cringe when I watch myself.
It was brilliant. We loved Kat's Kitchen. Anyway, Kat is obviously a shiatsu therapist, but you're also a yoga teacher training and a professional dancer. You've got a lot of bodywork experience there. But the main thing that was that's relevant for this course is that you actually worked in the MS Centre, didn't you, in Brighton?
Yeah. Well, it kind of came about because very conveniently, where I studied shiatsu was at the Brighton branch.
Yeah.
Down in Southwick, and the college is housed at the Multiple Sclerosis Centre.
Right.
So basically very handy. I got talking with the lady who ran the space at the time, and I said I'd like to do like a clinic.
Mm-hmm.
So whilst I was studying, I decided to throw myself in at the deep end.
Wow.
And treat people with multiple sclerosis. There was also other things that people came with, like ME as well.
Right.
And we did with my peer in third year, we did go to a hospice down the road to do our last project together. So we did see various chronic diseases.
Right.
But it started from where I began studying and kind of stayed there for about 2 years, something like that.
Wow.
But
Yeah.
do you know, I remembered, and I wanted to share with you all something. I mean, I could tell you all about the slides that I'm going to put together and the interesting information.
Yeah.
Because obviously, when I first started, I'll be honest, I had no clue with what I was doing. I was just touching people, and they loved it, and it didn't hurt, and they enjoyed being touched rather than not being seen by anyone or just a doctor now and again.
Yeah.
And through the years, I realized, I was like, of course, multiple sclerosis. Firstly, don't know how it happens.
No.
There's not one thing that triggers it.
No.
There's a variety. It comes out in many ways on different people, affects different parts of the body through the nervous system.
Yeah.
But basically, it's a huge external dampness that invades the body.
Right.
So you want to clear dampness, damp phlegm, and then you want to help spleen, liver, and kidney deficiency. But I won't say any more because I will ruin the next
you don't
one.
It's a spoiler. Spoiler alert. Spoiler alert.
Spoiler alert, yeah. But I wanted to show you, like ages ago, I was still studying, and I went to this beautiful arts and crafts fair down in Sussex, and I met a man there who went to the Multiple Sclerosis Centre, and we'd kind of half met a little bit, and he had different bodywork treatment and used the oxygen tank, and he lost the motor dexterity in both hands.
Wow.
But going to the MS centre, he got it back.
Wow, that's terrific.
He got it back, and he made, I'm probably going to well up, but he made tiny teddy
Oh
bears.
my God.
This was one of the biggest teddy bears, and all the joints moved,
Oh, isn't it
every
incredible?
single one. And he now makes them for Hamleys in London.
Really?
So he went from claw hands that couldn't move to making tiny teddy bears.
Wow.
So when someone says, oh gosh, I've got multiple sclerosis, I'm like, it's not nice, but there are many things that can help it. And this man made this teddy bear, and it was just so beautiful. So I had to buy it. She's called Chi Chi.
That's a wonderful story. That's just so amazing that you managed to help him like that. That's great.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Anyway, I'll put Chi Chi down.
Thanks so much, Kat. I'm really looking forward to your session. It's going to be so great to be on the other side of it and be able to watch your session. It's going to be really good. I'm really looking forward to it. Okay, so there we are. That's Kat Westwood. She's our...
I'll get back on the chat.
Yeah, get back on the chat and get on sorting that out. There we go. Amazing. Look, what an amazing story. Okay, so who have we got? We've got Shakura. Shakura's not around, I don't think, at the moment on this call, because on this presentation, because she's in, I think, Spain. We can't keep up with her at the moment. She's doing international retreats all over the place. But she's obviously a shiatsu therapist. You probably know that she's done some very advanced qigong healing, and she's recently got into breathwork. So we thought this would be a great opportunity. She was very keen to share her breathwork knowledge with chronic diseases, because it's just so fits so well. So it'll be kind of a little bit of a different session there. And so she's going to combine the qigong and the breathwork in treating the clients with chronic diseases. And we're going to do a practical session. I can't wait. I'll be lying down there doing it with her and everyone else, hopefully, on that session. So that's our Shakura. So you can see we're doing it pretty much in-house and with Micheline from Zurich to help us with the cancer ones. And then Dinah and I were just thinking, what would we do? We thought first of all about arthritis, but then we thought, especially with the research that just came out, we just thought it would be good to extend it to musculoskeletal issues as a whole scope thing. And here's Dinah to pop onto the stage and tell us a little bit about her experience. In fact, we've got a lot of years experience between us, Dinah, as I started to do the sums.
Frightening amount. Yeah. And of course, I think everybody who's here will have had loads of clients over the years with chronic neck, shoulder, back, joint issues.
Yeah.
And shiatsu, fantastic for that.
Yeah.
And we were talking about this earlier this afternoon, weren't we, Cliff?
Yeah.
One of the things that I think is so precious about shiatsu is that the nature of any chronic illness, whether it's age-related or it's degenerative or it's terminal.
Yes.
Basically, it's not just physically challenging, but it's emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually challenging.
Yeah.
And that's one of the gifts of shiatsu, that we can address all those levels.
Mm-hmm.
So just creating the space to support, and it's, as somebody said earlier, it's not about treating the illness, it's about treating this person, supporting this person.
Yeah, that was Micheline saying that about that, yeah. Yeah.
And this person who is perfect despite their illness, you know, that they are a divine manifestation in a physical form, however challenged that physical form is.
Yes.
And reinforcing that quality by whatever means, whatever techniques, whatever, is such a joy, a gift, something really special.
Yeah. I think from my own point of view as well, it's just like when people have been through the whole Western medicine thing, and as that research from 2000 showed, you know, often they don't know why it's happening. They don't know why all these things happen. It's just amazing to be able to look at it from a completely different angle and just give some kind of hope that actually there is something they can do themselves, even if it's a simple qigong exercise or anything. Even it's so easy to underestimate the power of even just the slightest change, isn't it?
Absolutely. And just teaching them how to breathe. Yes, I'm with you. It will be great to have some more input on Shakura's breathwork techniques. And one of the things she mentioned when I was suggesting she'd be a good person,
Yeah.
she's saying so great for deep developmental trauma.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah.
And trauma-related things that get stuck in the body, because the breath work can really help release those.
Exactly. Yeah.
But actually, on a more basic level, just teaching our clients how to find their resilience, how to find their own resources with simple breathing, with simple Qigong exercises, and with a bit of actual Chinese medicine understanding.
Yeah, totally.
Of course, you won't be sleeping well and you'll be feeling agitated and restless, because this pattern is associated with yin deficiency, and yin is cooling and nourishing and moistening and relaxing and associated with the earth and
Yeah.
You know, we've got so much to offer.
Really, I agree. That's true.
To encourage people and to support them and to give them hope, as you say.
Yeah, brilliant.
So,
and I found it fascinating doing all the research just for this introduction. It was just really quite, I mean, I had a vague idea that this was going on, but I had no idea of the actual statistics. It really is quite concerning. You know, we've got.
It's dramatic. I'm amazed by the muscular skeletal stuff that's gone up since the pandemic. That's dramatic, isn't it? And posture. I mean, quite often I'm teaching my people
how to sit.
Just alignment, and you know, it can be a revelation to people to just have concepts like expansion and release and opening and floating bones, and you know, all those things that we take for granted.
Yeah.
I had feedback from a client just the other week. It was like, oh, I can't believe it. You know, the idea that she can extend and float and expand rather than all of that.
Yeah.
Fabulous. We're very lucky, you know, it's a real honor.
Yeah, brilliant. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to putting it together, Dinah. That'll be really interesting.
Yeah, and I think we should make ours very practical.
Very practical. And we've got some specific techniques, haven't we, for the joints and things that we'd like to share and everything.
Absolutely. And stroke, of course, another thing.
Yes. We've got some interesting resources for that as well, you know, obstruction in the channels and everything. So, yeah. Great. Okay, thank you very much. Here we go. So let's have a look and see what we've got next. Okay, so now it's time to have an overview. We've got some practical, I've got some practical exercise for us to do. But this is just some research I've been doing again on the TCM and also on the emotional aspects of chronic disease that I thought really interesting, and also that link directly in with our role as holistic therapists. And this is something I got right out of the a conventional research paper, which links with some of the earlier things we were discussing. And this is to do with the patient being basically the primary manager of chronic disease. And that links directly with what everyone's been saying, really, which is that we've got all these models and tools and techniques that we can use to teach the client to be that manager, to start really managing it. And look at the second paragraph, the fact that it's not really, it's more of a partnership rather than a sort of professional doing something for an acute disease. And the whole idea is to give the patient the best chance to control the disease on all levels. And again, that's really where we can really contribute. So this is just stuff I've been pulling out of the official research and the official like Western medicine policy. And it just made me think, wow, we're right in there. We're just in the right place to help. So I thought started to do some research on Chinese medicine, what Chinese medicine can actually offer chronic disease in relation to acute diseases. And I found some stuff on the 7 stages of grief. I'll just share that in a moment. And then also the role of Shiatsu and TCM as a holistic therapy, and also constitutional types, which is something we don't come across that much in the literature. But in terms of chronic disease, they're considered to be an important aspect of TCM, because remember, Kat was just saying about how MS is to do with damp invasion. And that means that TCM can give us a bit of an insight into the energetic constitution of patients and how they can be susceptible to chronic diseases developing. And that's in direct contrast to Western medicine. If you remember the earlier slide, Western medicine basic take on chronic diseases is they often have no idea why they occur. And again, Chinese medicine and Shiatsu has got a place there. So look at this. This is really interesting. I found this this is again in the literature, and there's basically the 7 stages of grief that you might have come across in terms of life transformation can be applied directly into chronic disease. And I'm sure all of us know enough about Shiatsu and TCM to be able to start thinking about which meridians might be involved in, first of all, denial, then the desperation stage. Anger is an obvious one that then turns into anxiety and depression. There's a TCM syndrome right there, so you probably know. And then you've got loss of self and confusion as it goes more into the Shen. And then you've got the more spiritual aspects that come in of the organs in different combinations to reevaluate life itself and roles and goals, and then finally acceptance at the end. So you can see how the Chinese medicine and Shiatsu method and theory and practice can really help clients through all of those 7 stages. And being aware of them, of course, really helps us place our work, what we're doing, what information we've got, and how we can help them. So I thought that was very, very interesting. And we're going to be referring to that all the way through the next part of the series. Okay. And then I started looking at the fact that holistic approaches are recommended for chronic diseases because of all the things we discussed already. And important things that I found flagged up again and again in the literature are understanding body-mind connections. Well, there we are. We're right there in the middle, right in the center of the expertise for that. Lifestyle and activity, again, Chinese medicine, as I'm sure you must have enjoyed our last summer school, based on Peter Dedman's book, which was all about how Chinese medicine links with modern research on lifestyle and activity. We've got diet. Again, the Chinese approach to diet is so useful, particularly with chronic diseases where you get heat or damp occurring. Again, another way in to help the clients. Another massive thing I think for that we can offer clients, and we do that every single week here in the Shiatsu Centre for our Wednesday class, and we've still got an international group of people that come pretty much every week to do self-help Shiatsu techniques. In fact, I'm going to be doing the class. It's my turn to do it tomorrow. So if you're on that class, I'll see you tomorrow morning at 10 o'clock UK time, 11 o'clock European time. Again, assessing our own energy and being able to do self-help. So useful and so cost-effective because you can give a free class, help loads of people, which we're doing, who've got chronic issues, and you can offer it very, very inexpensively or indeed free if you can fund it. And then we've got constitutional syndromes. And I found this very interesting, something, again, I didn't know very much about until I started looking into it. Found several different sources. They don't all kind of agree, you know what it's like in Chinese medicine. But basically, the idea is there is a range. Usually there's about 9 classifications of constitution based on the underlying pattern tendency of that constitutional person to certain diseases. So this is really important in terms of the development of Chinese development of chronic diseases and why do certain people get things and other people don't, even though they might be exposed to the same stresses and so on. Okay. And so we've got all of these different things. You can recognize that we've got the neutral one, which is kind of like when there's not much going on at all, from what I can gather. And then we've got qi deficiency, yang deficiency, yin deficiency. Dinah was just mentioning that. Blood stasis, that'll be next year, we'll cover that. Phlegm and dampness, Kat's already mentioned that with MS, so she'll be going more about that. Phlegm and dampness and damp heat. Qi stagnation and special constitution, which are all the kind of other bits that don't quite fit in with everything else. So we'll be referring back to these constitutional types when we look more into the syndromes of various different things as we go through the next 4 weeks of the course. Okay, so I thought let's break it up. Let's do an energy work exercise. And if you, as we've just found from the poll, 50% of you report suffering from a long-term imbalance or chronic disease. So let's do a self-awareness exercise on whether we feel deficient or more obstructed. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the slides off and I'm going to go to the back of the room here. And I've got my pen and paper here. So if you've got a pen and paper handy, you can just run and go and get it. We're going to do a body awareness exercise now. Just going to adjust the camera slightly because it's not full set up for that. There we go. That's it. Perfect. Okay, so yeah, let's just do some self-awareness exercise. Then I've got a poll to follow it up. So we'll see how we're doing. So before you do anything else, okay, we're not going to do any exercising or moving because we want to try and catch ourselves, catch our energy as it is right now. We're just going to stand, or you can just sit if you want, if you prefer. And we're just going to relax. And we're going to turn our awareness into our own energy system. That's our physical body and the space around us. Okay, and if you remember, Micheline mentioned that she was going to be doing some work away from the body in her session. So let's just tune into our body, and we're going to scan. We're going to do a whole body scan. So we're going to literally just scan through our body. And as we're doing it, what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to see if you can sense any excess or obstruction in your chi. So if there's anywhere where it feels blocked, or you feel you've got too much energy, it could be too much cold, too much heat, or just an obstruction, then just notice that. And as we go through, also just see if you can check in and see if there's anywhere or anywhere in general that feels more deficient, that feels more low in energy, okay? So let's do that, and we're going to draw it after we've done the exercise. And the idea of this is to basically tune into our own field, and then when we're working with others, we can apply that technique with scanning, and we can assess it, and we can link that to the constitutional patterns and to any syndromes or meridian imbalances that we find. Okay, so this is the first step. So let's do it together. We're just going to tune in just above our head first. So you've got the whole crown chakra and the soul star chakra and like that all happening up here. So we're going to assess that first by just feeling above us, above our head. And then we're going to scan down. Okay, I'm just going to do it properly now. I'm going to relax my head. I'm just scanning down through the top of my head. Through into my head, so I'm checking out my eyes, nose, sinuses, ears, neck, throat. Okay, and then we're going to go down through onto the shoulders, checking out if you can feel deficiency or excess or obstruction in any aspect of your chi field. Okay, we go down. Now let's just check out down the arms. Down into the hands. Okay, and then we're going to go back into the torso of the body, and we're going to go down through the upper heater. So this is the chest and the lungs and the heart, all the way through there. Don't forget the back. Okay, very interesting. Okay, we're going down into the diaphragm, and then down into the upper part of the abdomen. Just sensing internally now to see whether you feel a connection with any deficiency or excess. And then down into the lower heater and around into the back and hips. Okay, and then down through the legs and down into the feet. Okay, excellent. So now we're going to just draw that. Draw your body energy. When you get to your feet, just see how that's connected to the earth. And then remember thinking back to any obstructions. I'm going to draw mine. I'll tell you what, I'm looking forward to the Wednesday class already tomorrow, I'll tell you. I'm just going to mark it up where I feel. Okay. Okay, if you'd like to check in with the Wednesday class tomorrow morning, we can deal with any deficiency or excesses that you feel. But you might want to just spend a minute just shaking out any obstruction that you've got in your body before we go back to the slides. Basically, shaking and moving the body is the best way to move obstruction. And if you're basically more deficient, you want to take it much more easily and just breathe into those areas that you feel more deficient. Shaking out some of this tension here. Brilliant. Okay, excellent. So there's my picture. Definitely need help. I definitely need the Wednesday class. I'm really looking forward to tomorrow. And I've got a poll, which I'm going to run, which is, so this is just a little taste of some of the practical work that we'll be doing in some of the sessions. If you've got a body that you can bring, a model you can bring to work on, that's really good. Otherwise, you can always tune into what we're doing and follow along. Yeah, exactly. I could do with the Shiatsu. I'm going to book in with someone very, very soon, I think, in the centre. There we go. There we are. Okay, I'm back. The camera's sorted. Brilliant. Okay, so here we go. So let's find out, did you feel mostly deficient, mostly blocked, or excess, or both about the same, or neither? You felt absolutely fine. So let's just see how you're doing. I'm going to share that poll. Let's just see how you did in the exercise. Oh, I didn't put in, I feel fine. So that's, you just don't answer if you didn't get that one. If you've got that one, let's have a look. Interesting. Look at this. Interesting. That's interesting. That definitely about the same amount is about a third, but we've got almost a half of you are blocked or excess. So really, if you've got that as the most obvious thing, recommend the Wednesday class tomorrow. We can all work on ourselves together. That would be really useful. Okay, but you can see that in chronic illness, it can be chronic disease can create deficiency, which is usually an underlying pattern that tends to occur with long-term illness. But also, you can also get excess, and Kat's already mentioned damp, invasion of damp. Stagnation is also very common because of emotional factors that can cause stagnation of key in the long term. And so basically what we're doing when we're treating chronic disease is we're often balancing out deficiency and excess, in other words, tonification and sedation. And in my own experiences, it's trial and error. It's very difficult to get it right first time. And in fact, I was working on a client just today, right here on this mat, who I gave a treatment to, who has got chronic health problems. And I treated her a few weeks ago, and I did a very sedating treatment because she had a lot of obstruction, and she got instant relief, but it didn't last for very long. So if that happens, usually indicates that you need to use more tonification underneath the stagnation in order to stabilize it. So I switched it completely today, and I did much more tonifying session, and I'm hoping it's going to be more long lasting. But we can go into that whole thing about balancing, treating obstruction and deficiency in the course when we're doing the different aspects to it. Okay, so here we go. Just pop the slides back on. Okay, are there any questions? Let's have a look. I'll go back onto the chat. Are there any questions at all about the course? We've got coming up to the last few slides now. So if you've got any questions, you can always flag them up, and Kat can Kat can mark them up as a question.
Hello, sorry.
Any news from the chat, Kat, that you need to share?
There's no questions, but there's some really beautiful things that people have put in. Maybe I can.
Oh, let me have a look.
If I this
yes.
one here.
Oh, yes.
That one's from Linda. She said, "This is interesting, as this has not been my personal experience, but when I've tried to explain my thoughts on a condition or cause management, or I'm guessing like doctors and things, sadly it has been often met with a dismissive response and not a holistic manner. Even though they do not have any answers themselves, I do not have great respect for the people I've seen. I do have great respect, but, that I have seen, but I do wish they would see me as a whole being."
There we are. That's it. So even though all the research and all the stuff you read about says that, I don't think it's really the fault of Western medicine. It's just they don't have the right tools. That's all. Yeah.
And I always thought, I mean, I'm not that old, but years ago, I swear doctors used to take time with you, and they knew you from growing up. If you're in the same village or something, they know you.
Yeah.
And there's this other one from Joan that really beautiful. In the early 90s, I started volunteering, working with people with HIV and AIDS when my clients didn't always show up because they were in hospital or had died. One time a client said to me, do you know what was the best part? I was ready to be so proud of my technique. And then he said, when you held my hand.
Oh.
Yeah. Really humbled me and made me realize that being present is 90% of the time. Many of these people are still alive, and next week I'm planning to have a coffee with one who moved to LA.
Look at that. Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's just so easy for us. Again, it's so easy for us to, like I was saying to Dinah earlier, it's just so easy for us to underestimate just the power of the simplest thing, like the power of touch itself, isn't it?
Yeah.
And I'm sure you must have felt that when you were treating with the clients with MS as well.
Yes.
Especially when you started out and you didn't know very much anyway.
No. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But that just shows you the power of Shiatsu. You know, it's just the actual modality itself is so powerful, isn't it?
Yeah.
So,
all right,
fantastic. Thank you very much. Thank you very much for showing that, Kat. That's brilliant. Look at that. That's great. Okay, so we've just got a few minutes left. So let me have a look at what we've got next. Oh yeah. Okay, so this is how it works. Okay. We've got 5 live Tuesday webinars. This is just the first one, as I explained earlier. So we've got the 4 coming up. We've got Micheline, Kat, Shakura, and then me and Dinah. And then we're going to build this, as we always do, we build it into a full online course that will include all the live webinar recordings, extra resources that we find along the way, quizzes. Obviously, you can ask questions as well of the presenters on the community forum. And then we'll give you CPE credits. If you finish the whole course, we have like questionnaires and things so you can actually show that you've been through the material. And that's 120 euros if you are not a member of New Energy Work already. And we run about, I should think, 4 or 5 of these a year, in addition to all the other things we do for our members, which is the things like the Tuesday tutorials and the professional development seminars, which are closed group things that are all part of the membership. So if you'd like to follow this course, you can buy this course for 120 euros. But just wanted to share with you that professional membership starts at 10 euros a month. So you could have a whole year's worth of these courses and loads of other stuff as well for the price of just one course. And it's up to you. People still like to just buy one course at a time, and that's absolutely fine with us. And we'll be putting that together and sharing the link with you in the next couple of days. So yeah, that's how the whole thing works. And I think that is pretty much it. Let's have a look. Yeah, okay. So we're going to send out an email. Those of you who are already members of New Energy Work, you'll find it on your dashboard as soon as we've made it. It'll be in there for you, and we'll send you a nice link so you can find it easily amongst all the other millions of lovely things you've got on your dashboard already. If you're not a member and you'd like to join the course, then we'll be sending a link out to that too, and that's how it works. So the way it works, I just want to explain this because I know it confuses people sometimes. Is the first webinar is free, and the second, third, fourth, and fifth webinars are part of the course, and they're also members access only. So you do have to register for the webinar 2 to 5, that one, separately. And all the subscriber members have already had that email, but we'll send you another one if you didn't do it. But we've already had lots of people enroll for the second part. So that's it. I guess it's time to go. And I just want to say a massive thank you to all of the presenters who took time to join us today and just give us a bit of an overview. And it's a shame Shakura couldn't be here, but I'm sure her session will be absolutely amazing. So, yep, there we go. Get lots of hearts in the chat. Time to finish up. And, oh, yes, I want to just tell you one other thing, which is I talked to Carola today, and we're going to put together a year with Carola Beresford-Cook, 6 webinars over a year. We hope to start in the autumn. Again, the webinars will be free to New Energy Work members, and we're going to put together, and she's going to allow us to put her amazing DVDs, which some of you may already have, onto New Energy Work, which you will be able to access soon online, which will be amazing. And also another bit of news, which is super exciting, is that we're going mobile. So soon you'll be able to get all of the New Energy Work courses and everything on your phone on an app. Okay, so we're just working with that at the moment. It's going to be a massive, and that's going to be rolled out free to all the members. So the members, subscribing members, again, will be able to upgrade your membership, and you'll be able to access all the stuff on an app. It's really super easy. I've had a little go of it. It's really, really cool. Okay, so lots of interest, lots of exciting news. Keep in touch. Watch out for the emails. And yeah, thank you very much. I'll put a heart in the chat, and then I will say goodbye to you. So here we go. Emojis. Okay, thank you very much, Micheline. Thank you very much, Kat. Thank you very much, Dinah. And thank you very much, all of you. And hopefully see you next week on the next webinar. There we go. Time to end the session. Okay, bye-bye.